Hey guys, this is so funny because there's so much pink you can't even see the pink in my hair. It says I should come with a warning label. I thought that was so cute when I saw that in the store. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about something that somebody wrote me about and said, could you expand on that? So, what it means to work on yourself. So, I like to use the analogy, or I'd like to just talk about beta fish, in terms of I was trying to think of a good analogy for this, and I thought beta fish are so cool and they're so beautiful, and you could just watch them all day swim around with their beautiful fins, and they're just so flowy, and they're like little mermaids in there. They're just so beautiful. But you show them a mirror and they're like, they puff off and get all threatened and all mad. And then you see this beautiful fish turn into this vicious, rawr. And that's us. We're beta fish, basically. And other people are the mirrors. And either people show us how beautiful and flowy we are, or they show us, a threat. It's a threat. What it is, or what's essentially happening, is we have unhealed. It's like I had this very loving woman say to me one time, it's like you think God only loves you if you're these things, list those out. You feel like God wouldn't love you if you did these things, right? So God forbid anybody should ever do these things over here. And so it's and then she assured me, no, God loves you no matter what you're doing, or no matter what those things over here are. Those things don't matter, in God's eyes. At the time, I was very religious. So I thought, okay, I guess that's true. I guess I can see where those things that I don't like about other people, I feel like God wouldn't love me if I did those things. You know what I mean? When I was able to look at it from that angle, I was like, okay. But what it is there are those things, and whether you believe in God or not doesn't really matter, but basically there are those things about you that you don't like, that when you see them in somebody else, you react. And the way you react is usually it could be blaming them. It could be shaming them. It could be saying they shouldn't be doing that. It could be so many different ways that could come out, but basically you get upset and you have to say something about it. You feel like you have to say something about it. But those things are going on within yourself. So working on yourself means that, and believe me, I have had, I spent so much of my life being in a victim mentality. Victim mentality doesn't go, oh, woe is me, and everything is going terrible. And it's not like that. It's much more subtle. It's basically believing anything in your life is happening and that shouldn't be happening. Truly loving life is loving everything as it is, even the bad stuff. And, it's easy to love the good stuff that's going right, but to love the bad stuff is taking yourself to a whole other level of self-mastery. Being able to enjoy or it's not like you would enjoy suffering. It's more like suffering doesn't mean suffering, if that makes any sense. You start to see things from a more neutral standpoint when you start to look at yourself. So looking at yourself, here's what that looks like. If I find myself irritated by something that somebody does, even irritated, that's not even upset or mad or any of that stuff. If I can then look at myself and see it in myself, then I'm free, essentially. Because when I acknowledge that and I can tell myself, let's say somebody lies. Oh my gosh, that person lied to me. I can say to myself, well, I've lied to myself about such and such, and it could apply to the person or not. But if I say, okay, where am I lying? Where am I lying to myself or to others or to whatever it is? You just take yourself through that process. It doesn't mean that you're still going to interact with that person who is lying. And it's also not letting them off the hook. They're going to lie whether you have anything to do with it or not. They are going to be who they are. All you can do is tend to yourself. So I'm teaching you how to like be free within yourself despite anything anyone else is doing. And that's where you find the real freedom, is to be able to work on yourself by seeing everything that's in your world is a reflection of yourself. And so that's why I have that exercise, thank you God for my misery, because it helps you to just kind of break out of this victim mentality and to see that you actually, there are things about that situation that are absolutely perfect for you to have an advantage, even to get out of it. It helps you feel empowered, like there's something you can do about it. Everything is about empowerment here when you're talking about like working on yourself and freedom. It's also working on yourself would be like having really good boundaries with people who don't treat you right or that don't love you like you love yourself. You want everybody to treat you like you feel you deserve. If you wouldn't want your best friend to be treated that way, then certainly don't let yourself be treated that way. And that would be a good barometer to check on, if you feel like, oh, of course I wouldn't let that be done to you, but, it's happening to me and that's okay. It's like, why would you abuse yourself and you wouldn't let your best friend be abused? You should love yourself equally to your best friend, if not even more. Because when we fill ourselves up with self-love, we treat each other that much better. And what happens when we acknowledge those parts about ourselves that we kind of disowned, is we tend to love and accept others better too. And like I said, they're going to do what they're going to do. It doesn't even matter what you do. But it frees you up to just constantly put it back on you. Not in a blamey way, not in saying like, oh, you're the real liar and give yourself a hard time. That's not what I'm talking about either. It's not beating yourself up. It's being able to say, we are all just humans in a way. But also, our egos, just know that our egos play a lot of tricks on us. So they'll try to say, oh, your ego will make fun and say, oh, just have a positive attitude about this. Just be all willy-nilly or, put on the pink shades or whatever and see through rose-colored glasses and everything will be fine. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about actually getting real and seeing around the ego's tricks and the way that the ego will try to fool you into shortcuts. Like people will tell me, oh, yeah, well, I had a good attitude about that. And I'm like, no, that's not going to cut it. Your ego will not allow you to just go have a good attitude about it. It's faking yourself out. What I'm talking about is doing things like exercises, like Byron Katie's work. Her self-inquiry process is probably the deepest way and the most honest and authentic way to get down to the core of any issue that I've seen. But I know there are a lot of things, and you guys don't feel like you have to go with the way that, the tool that's works best for me. Pick out your own tool, but use a tool and write it down. Don't do it in your head. Don't take shortcuts. The ego is awesome at trying to come up with shortcuts and to make it all into like a big generalization. Oh, just let it go. Oh, just, have a good attitude. Oh, just, and it's just like, it's your ego's way of you dismissing the exercise. Watch your ego. Your ego will try to trick you at every turn, but you have to do something to retrain the way that you look at things. Something has to be training or retraining your brain to look at things totally differently so that you can have a perspective shift enough to where you start letting go of things. Things don't agitate you or upset you anymore. They don't get you down and depressed anymore. You don't follow that rabbit hole down anymore. I get upset feelings every once in a while, but I know not to go down that hole. I see the hole and I say, "Ooh, okay, I'm going to go this way." And I make a conscious decision to do something to cheer myself up or to think something better or think something happier, or I reach out to someone who will do that for me. I know how to take care of myself and I know how to get myself out of it. And I know, if I really want to go deep with it, I can do self-inquiry process with it. It takes about a half hour, knock it out. And I feel like a million times better. And every time you do the exercise or an exercise that's deeper like this, you get lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter till you really don't get affected much, and you just stay present in the moment. That's the objective. If you really want to, if you feel that you're ready, really ready to take it to the next level and really want to feel some tremendous peace, then you'll read Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, and you'll be in the right mindset to do it. Don't listen to it. Listening to it can be helpful, but I would read it and I'd put the bookmark in and I would go back and read it again, because there's going to be a lot you don't understand, but just keep, or I Am That would be another good book. Sarina Sargadada Maharaj. There's a lot of really great books, but just basically see, most of our society sees things completely upside down from what they are in reality. And so when you read deeper books like that, you start to understand and get why everything is happening around us like it is, and why it affects us the way that it is. Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth, gets to the core of why, you know, he talks about religion, he talks about the ego, how the ego hooks you, why it hooks you, that it's basically like trying to feed off of you, and the tricks the ego plays. I mean, once you're aware of all that stuff, you're so much freer, you guys, so much freer. And you'll know what to do. You'll just feel so much more empowered and less reactive, less upset, more, you can see more clear-headed. You're not going to be in a situation, it's like you're the calm of the storm. There may be a bunch of activity going on around you, and you're like listening with your spidey senses, right? And you're just like super intuitive from a place of peace and unbiasedness. You're not going to get swayed because your ego wants you to be safe, or because the ego wants you to this or that. It's like you can be in this space of just being love, and just being in the center of the storm, being the space for it, and letting it all work out the way that it will naturally anyway. And it's like when you can like radiate out this peace and this spaciousness in that situation, you'll bring so much more and better solutions to that situation than you could possibly ever do using your brain to think your way through it, and to try to brainstorm through it, and to try to hash it out and talk it out and do all of that. It's like just one very level-headed, perfectly centered person coming from this unbiased, loving place is more powerful than 100 people laboring away at trying to come up with a solution. So the more each of us tries to enlighten and become take more personal responsibility for our own feelings despite circumstances, then think of the impact that we can make. If you're unswayed by the ego's influence, you're powerful, very powerful, and you can manifest like that. You can just intend something and it happen. Money no longer becomes an issue. Really, nothing becomes an issue. Everything fuels you. You become a burning fire that everything fuels. Nothing can douse it out, or rain it out, or mud it out, or you become unstoppable. So we think, when we're still stuck in the ego, we think that if we change things that other people do, that's what's going to give us power. That's what's going to make us strong. That's what's going to make us free. But you will never, ever, ever, ever be able to do it. Nor would it ever make you happy, because you'll just be proving to yourself that running around like a tyrant, bossing people around and trying to control them all the time, you're so outwardly focused, you can't find that contentment within. But if you start making everything like that beta fish, you can start seeing the reflection every time, and you start growing and having epiphanies and realizations. Use whatever material or tools you want. I've got some good free resources in my resources tab at amysatori.com. Use whatever method you want to, even boosting all your chi, boosting, with your qigong or tai chi or whatever it is. That's how you truly become free. Anyway, so work on yourself. Work on yourself. Make that your number one goal, above making money, above making friends, above making anything that makes you feel comfortable, above finding a home, above finding a job, above finding, did I say that? But above everything, work on yourself. Make that your number one, absolute number one priority, and you will change the politics in this world, the way we interact with each other. You will have the biggest impact on the planet if you just do that one thing and focus back here. You guys can totally change the world by doing that. But probably 95 to 98% of the planet is outwardly focused on everybody else. Even those that have learned all the tools, they don't do it. They don't work. They don't continue. They feel a little bit of relief and then they kick back and they just relax. But don't stop there. Never stop. Never stop looking back at yourself. Never stop working on yourself. Never stop being able to apologize for a way that you acted or a way that you were. If somebody calls you on your shit, admit it. That's the biggest, easiest way to kill the ego right there. If they say blam, you say guilty. And not in a guilty, like guilty. Oh, what do I do now? Shall I give my soul away? I'm like guilty, I did it and I apologize. Have the balls to be able to say whatever that is. Yeah, I see that. And it's not an ill reflection of you. In fact, if you admit to things, then you are, you're being relatable too, because everybody's guilty of things. Nobody's perfect, you guys. So if you're willing to say, I had this thing go wrong, or I did this wrong, or I wasn't up to par here, and I kind of feel bad, if you can just admit that you're going through all that stuff, then you're so much more relatable than trying to put up some kind of front. Like, I didn't do that. I wouldn't have done that. I would, it's like nobody's going to trust you. So be authentic. Keep your heart on your sleeve. Go through the motions. Go through the feelings. Don't deny your feelings. There's a great video. Matt Kahn has it. It's called Respecting the Shadow. I would watch that if you have a tough time kind of looking at your shadow side. He has an exercise in there that'll tell you real quick how that goes. But I'm going to be running through it fast. So just slow this down and maybe watch this part a bunch of times if you really want to get it down. But basically, say you're at a party and you're getting really mad because there's some kind of jackass going off about something, acting all pompous and opinionated or something, right? So you go to the bathroom, you just remove yourself from the situation. And then for one, you could say, I respect your power. If you have to stay in the room with him, that's a good tool to use. I respect your power. Just say that in your mind to him over and over. Don't even think any other thoughts. Just, I respect your power. I get it. I respect your power. I respect your power. That will bring his defenses down as well. But if you can escape, if you can get away and get into the other room, go into the other room, and then you say, you own whatever feeling it is. So I'm feeling frustrated, right? So you're sitting there on the toilet. I'm feeling frustrated. And then you feel the sensation of frustration. What does frustration feel like in my body? What does that do to me? What's the sensation? Are there any colors involved? Do I feel tingling anywhere? Or is it like moving around to all my different organs? Or is it like my whole body is like, I'm frustrated? It's like, just notice what frustration feels like in your body, basically. Once you've identified that, it's going to help you in the future. When you feel frustrated, to help you notice it faster. You'll be like, ooh, there's frustration. I recognize that one. So you'll be frustrated. You'll recognize the feeling faster. Then you go through, how do I interact with my world when I'm frustrated? So you think about everything that you do in life. When you're doing the dishes, you're making dinner, you're out there going to the bank, and you're running errands, and you're petting your animals. Whatever it is that you're interacting with, how are you treating your world when you're feeling frustrated? Oh man, I slam doors, I kick the dog, I yell at the kids, and you just go through all the scenarios in your life where that feeling has been there and notice how you treat your world when you're frustrated. Okay. Then the next step is to go through and say, how does my world then treat me back when I'm feeling frustrated? Oh, well, my friend says, she acts all timid. Oh, well, I guess I'll talk to you another time. Sorry. Or your husband might like slip out of the room. Oh shit, she's got that look. The kids might be like, it's like, how does your world interact with you and how does it treat you back when you're feeling that feeling of frustration? So just very thoroughly, as thoroughly as you can, go through every area of your life. This is what's going to create self-awareness. Go through every area of your life and just see how you're affecting your world, how your world is affecting you when you're in the feeling of frustration. Then you bring it all on. You're like, okay, this is frustration. This is what it feels like in my body. This is the way that I treat people. This is the way they treat me when I'm in this feeling of frustration. Oh my gosh, there's so much power when frustration is here. Just think about the immense power of what that feeling does in your world, right? And just acknowledge it and say, that has a lot of power over me when it's here. Holy cow. Just have some respect for that, Take a good look at it, feel it all, and then you take all of that energy off of you and you set it out in front of you like an energy child. And you look at that child and you say, frustration, I respect your power. And then just feel it just dissipate and lift off of you. It just needs to be validated and respected. You're just fighting with the feeling. If you can be okay with every feeling that you're going to be feeling as a human being, you'll move through those feelings so much faster and create so much more space. But don't take a shortcut. Again, the ego always wants to take a shortcut. Do the process. That's what will retrain your brain. That's what will get you to be more self-aware, taking it through the proper process. If you're still feeling something when you're like, hey, maybe I'm not frustrated now, but I'm pretty sad. I'm pretty sad that this still is going on, Then go, okay, sadness. How does sadness feel in my body? Or is it moving around? Is there a color associated? Just take yourself through the whole process all over again. Do this with every emotion that continues to arise until you are actually left in that total peace. And that is you, who you authentically, truly are by your nature, your very nature. That's your core truth of who you are, is that nothingness, that energy that's just left, that spacious openness. That's who you are. You're a loving being by nature. So if you can keep training yourself to go through that process or something similar, like by doing the work or whatever you want to do, if you keep cleaning off the glass or cleaning off the surface of the way you're seeing things, then you're going to see way more clearly and you're going to make a bigger impact. Also, you're going to find that, initially when you start to do an exercise like that, you're going to have a lot of things disturb you because you're not used to it. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, now there's all kinds of problems I'm noticing. Now there's all kinds of stuff. But then you keep addressing, you pop every bubble as it comes up. It's like an Alka-Seltzer that drops in and it eventually kind of chills out. But at first it's like, but address and pop everything that you can. And it eventually starts to die down. And then you find that only maybe 5 things upset you every week. And then you're still diligent about it. And then the next week, 3 things upset you. The next week, 1 thing upsets you. And then you find that it's pretty rare that anything ever really upset you. And then you're like, damn, this feels really good. My body feels relaxed. I feel good. I feel good about life. I feel more optimistic. Oh, I just got a raise. I just got a new job. I just got a new whatever. It all just starts coming in. The funny thing is we tell ourselves when we think of working on ourselves, like we think we have to sit at a counselor's office, right? Sit there and just mull through all this stuff in our past and go over the way that we act when this happens, the way that we act when that, and like hash all this stuff out. That's all very heady. It's all very ego. In my opinion, I'm not a licensed professional, guys, but that's what people are afraid of. That's why they don't want to address their feelings or address their shadow side, is they're afraid of going back through all that stuff. And it's just not necessary. I don't feel it's necessary. If you have the proper tools, you can have gone through anything. Like if you haven't read my about page or listened to my story, I mean, I've been through like the worst stuff you could possibly go through. And none of it defines who I am. None of it. None of it even affects me hardly, except for like stuff coming up for purging from the past, like, bloop, okay, gone. Okay, there's an official goodbye to you. You know, that type of stuff. So it's not that scary once you start looking. Then you're actually like kind of feel foolish that you didn't look sooner. You know, you're kind of like, oh, it was actually really funny, you know, and you start loving yourself or even just liking yourself more. You know, it's pretty cool. Anyway, now I'm babbling, so I'm going to go. But if you have any questions, like to expand on anything that I've said, go ahead and put it in the comments below. Or you can call the Satori Show on Sundays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time to ask me a question on there, or to have me do a reading, or to have me bless a situation for you guys in your life, or to do some energy work for you, or to read into a past life, or any of that. So, and to do that, you would just call 256-291-1191, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, whatever time that is for you. And I'd be happy to help you on the show so everybody can benefit from whatever you're going through. All right. Have a good one. Talk to you later.